Namah Hare Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamya Namaste Saraswati Devi Bhovam Pachanam Nidase Prasanya Radhi Prasati Veditare Om Aganatam Nandasya Janajana Sulapena Tatsushinitam Jana Tasmai Sri Ruve Namah Sri Caitanya Manovistam Stapitam Jana Bhutale Sayam Pratalamayam Dadati Sapandantikam Vansakalpachudascha Kripasindhuvayavaccha Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare. Reading from Sri Caitanya Caritamrta. This is Madhya Lila, chapter 3, after Mahaprabhu was taken sannyas, and then he's brought back to Advaita Bhavan in Shantipur by Nityananda Prabhu. And then all the devotees come from Navadvip Mayapur. They chant, they dance. Mother Sachi begs for the favor that only she cooks for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Nimai during his stay in the home of Advaita Acharya in Shantipur, and the devotees, of course, agree. And then when Mahaprabhu saw how eager his mother was to have this last bit of association with him, because she knew that he was going to leave home, leave the Nadia district, and she may never see him again, just like she never saw her son Vishwarupa again. So she was very, very, very upset about that, and due to her pure love, and Mahaprabhu noticed this, and he said that Mahaprabhu he called all the devotees and said that I can't forget you all, I can't forget you all because of your great love and devotion for me. I can't forget you all. But yet if I stay with you, I'm going to be criticized because a sannyasi should never stay at home. I'm going to be blamed for that. So I can't stay on one hand because I'm going to be criticized and blamed. And on the other hand, I can't go because of my attachment for you all. So the devotees, upon hearing this puzzling circumstance, they approached Sachimata and asked her what to do. And Sachimata, who is called here the mother of the universe, Jaganmata, she began to speak, and she said, Sachimata said, it will be a great happiness for me if Nimai, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, will stay here. But at the same time, if someone blames him, if someone criticizes him, it will be my greatest unhappiness. It will be my great unhappiness. So this is the nature of love. One's happiness in true love is the happiness of the other, and one's unhappiness is the unhappiness of the other. So she expressed the puzzle, and Prabhupada in his purport, he's going to explain that a mother should allow her son to search for Krishna. And I'll summarize a little of it, and because it's relatively long, and I'll read some of it too. So Prabhupada said, naturally, a mother wants her son to stay with him. But if he does that, he's going to be blamed by those spiritual authorities who understand the truth. Because naturally, a mother, this is what Prabhupada is saying, desires the welfare of her son. And then he says, by allowing her son to go as a sannyasi and search for Krishna, Sachimata instructs all mothers of the world. She indicates that all sons should become real devotees of Krishna and should not stay at home under the care of an affectionate mother. And then he quotes the Bhagavatam verse, Guruna Sisyat, Sajanana Sasyat, from the Rishabdev Maharaj's teachings in the 5th canto. And now, what is the context in which this very, very bold statement is being made that mothers should allow their sons to just take sannyas and leave home? And so there's two contexts. One is the context that Prabhupada is practically living in, and that context is that he has had so many of his disciples, his male disciples and female disciples too, but in a slightly different way. But the disciples' mothers come to him and say they're very disturbed when their children take up Krishna consciousness and make the attempt to devote their life to finding the absolute truth, to find Krishna. So Prabhupada is he's saying that if someone's that kind of a mother, that ma means Maya, because they're trying to keep their son inadvertently in the guise or in their attempt to keep him happy and do the best thing for him and keep him close by, they're actually entangling him in the cycle of birth and death. So therein lies such a major difference between this ancient Vedic culture and the contemporary civilization, and Prabhupada would generally say so-called civilization. There's a line that goes through them both and that separates them. Because in the ancient Vedic culture, the civilization was centered around a philosophical principle. And what was that philosophical principle? That we're eternal, that we're souls. We're eternal, we're souls. And according to how we live our life, we're going to take a next birth. This was the basic philosophy. And yet, although we're eternal, and although according to how we live our life and what we're thinking of at the time of death, and we're going to take a next birth, although that's true, it is possible to get free from this cycle of birth and death and birth. This was the basic philosophical underpinning on which the culture was based. This understanding was the foundation that the pillars of the culture rested upon. And therefore, life had a purpose. And the purpose of life was to get free from the cycle of birth and death. And the process of doing that, there may have been different styles or approaches to approaching the absolute truth and getting free from birth and death. But yet, this principle was always the same, that life had a purpose. And either you accepted the purpose as the Karma Mamamsakas under Jaimini Rishi, they thought that their idea was to take the Vedic literatures, which were the basic rules and regulations for living in this world, to take those Vedic literatures and perform so much piety, this was the Jaimini philosophy, to perform so much piety, so much punya, so many good deeds, that practically speaking, you would go to heaven and live an exalted life of pleasure, not birth after birth, but for year after year after year after year after year after year, indeterminable, practically speaking, happiness on the material level. And practically speaking, the idea was that the time that you'd spend in pleasure was so long that again, practically speaking, it was eternal on one level. Just like if I asked Jivi a very difficult question. How long is a long time?
A long time.
Yeah, how long is a long time?
A long time. Like a long time.
Yeah, that's true. It's like saying how tall is tall, and you say, well, tall is tall. And who are you? I am me. But that doesn't give us any more information than we already had. How long is a long time? What do you think? Oh no, you're going to answer me philosophically.
59 years.
59 years. See, depending upon... Thank you very much.
Very specific.
Huh?
It's very specific.
Very specific. How long do you think a long time is? Sometimes if the class is really boring, a long time is 10 minutes. Is that true? Maybe non-committal. Okay, that's a practical, tactical answer. Polite too. But depending upon our concept, a long time is either short or long. 10 minutes could seem like a long time, and 59 years could seem like a long time. But on the other hand, in the Vedic concept, the entire life of Brahma, which is trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions of years, seemed, or conceptually seemed, no more than the amount of time a flash of lightning over the ocean would take. So the concept of time is very important. So, and another aspect of this culture was that that time was very valuable. I remember one time hearing Prabhupada walking by the beach in Juhu, and he saw the people playing so many games. He saw maybe Ferris wheels or this or that, and people playing. What do people play in Juhu? Just camel rides, and do they play beach volleyball, or is that just here?
there should be like games where you'd win something,
Oh, they play that Kapadi too.
but also like you throw a little circle on whatever it lands on, you win. And
Yeah.
it never lands on anything. 'Cause it can't.
You get sand
Yeah, you get,
only.
like, 6 wooden circles you can throw.
Yeah. So,
Why can you use 6 wooden circles?
well, that's the point, isn't it? And not only you only temporarily fill them, and you temporarily get nothing, practically speaking. But so Prabhupada saw the people, as he put it, inventing ways to waste time. And we, on the other hand, are trying to say that we shouldn't waste time. We should use our time properly. And this concept itself, to you, that life has a purpose. Again, it was based on these foundational principles, based on knowledge. Life has a purpose. And now contrast that with today's culture. Well, and therefore Prabhupada would call it so-called civilization, because civilization without a purpose, how could it be civilized? Yeah, what's the usual purposes of life today? To accumulate so much wealth, accumulate power, ultimately for some type of enjoyment, either enjoyment of the power or enjoyment of the senses, enjoyment of the false ego or enjoyment of the senses. But it all ends. And that is the great flaw in that way of thinking, the contemporary way of thinking. It all ends, and then the question that would come to mind, if it all ends, well, then what happens next? If your life within the body ends, then what happens? So there's a famous Western philosopher, mathematician named Pascal, and he wrote a little booklet called Pascal's Wager, or his bet, and he said something to the effect of, in relationship to God, we don't know if he's really there or not. And we'll take that also. We don't know if we're really our body or we're not our body. Maybe when it ends, maybe it's all over. But he said it makes more sense to bet on the side and act on the side of that there is a God. Because if there isn't a God, you haven't lost anything. And if there is a God, you've done much better than the people who are acting in such a way that there is no God. And he was a religious man. That was called Pascal's Wager. Do you know what Pascal's Wager is now? Yes, if someone says, which side are you on? Pascal's Wager. How about Braj Mohan's Wager? So, of course, like Srila Prabhupada wasn't as mental about it as Pascal was, but he had a point, nevertheless. So Prabhupada continues his purport and ends it in this way. To stop the cycle of birth and death, one has to understand Krishna as he is. And simply by knowing Krishna, one can stop the process of rebirth into this material world. And by acting in Krishna consciousness, one can return to Godhead. One can actually be with Krishna. And it was Prabhupada's association in introducing us to the holy names, to the deities, to Sankirtan, the process of service, the process of taking prasadam, how to live a good life. And it was so opposed, it was so exactly opposite the way that most of the people were living who joined in the very early days. Of course, it's not at all foreign. These things are not foreign to those who come from the Indian culture. But in the West, these things were very, very, very foreign. And by his personal presence and putting us in touch with these powerful items that were Sarup Siddhi Bhakti, that were Krishna himself, the spiritual themselves, these processes, the deities, the holy names, the Dham, the Bhagavatam, and the holy person, and holy persons, then it changed people's hearts and changed the way that they looked at the world, and they saw that life did have a purpose. And even after one knows, is convinced, because it's simple, it's logical, that life has a purpose, it is really, it takes a lot of sincerity to align one's life with the purpose that we accept. To align one's life to that purpose is not easy. It takes so much sincerity. And those who are fully attached to that purpose in life, attached to Krishna, they'll go like this. And those who have to deal with their material situation, they'll go like this. And those, depending upon how much the material situation is demanding and upon their detachment or attachment to that material situation, they'll be direct or indirect, or a little indirect. But we don't have any criticisms of those who are a little indirect, using the material natures in Krishna's service, and according to their capacity. But the basic message that Prabhupada gave us is that one should know that life does have a purpose. And one should at least not go in the opposite direction from the purpose of life. One should accept these principles that we're eternal, that according to how we live, we're going to take our next birth, and that Krishna can be actually achieved by devotional service. So maybe I'm not on the highest level, but at least, or the most sincere level, so that humility should be there. But let me serve those who are better than me. In material life, people don't like to serve anyone or even admit anyone is better than them, because everyone, especially on the internet, has an equal opinion, and everyone's opinion is equally valid. But to admit that there are those who are more advanced than us, and to serve, and to even encourage those who in this particular context that Prabhupada is speaking about, one's own children, if they are burning with that desire to find out life's purpose, to find Krishna, to serve Krishna. If someone is burning with that desire and it conflicts with our own self-interest, and Prabhupada in this purport is speaking very strongly and appreciating Mother Sachi's mood, speaking strongly that this is a real mother caring for the benefit of the son, for the benefit of the other one, and trying to assist them in any way that they practically can to make spiritual advancement. So therefore, Prabhupada ends the purport saying, that is the most preferred welfare activity for the benefit of relatives. Therefore, Sachimata, although the mother of Nimai Pandit, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, considered all the facts and decided to allow her son to go and search for Krishna. He had said, I can't leave you. What should I do? I can't keep with you, stay with you. I can't leave you. What should I do? So he placed himself in the hands of the devotees. And how could he do that? Because he trusted them completely. And what causes trust in another is when one trusts the love for that other person, for us, because love will ensure that that person will act for our welfare and not contrary to us, and won't exploit us. True love is like that. But at the same time, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, at the same time, she made some arrangement in order that she might get news of all the activities of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. So she still wanted to save her own life out of, and when this happens, one might think, well, there's at least a little bit of selfishness in there, but when it comes down to it, and we see this with the Braja Gopikas also, that there is no selfishness. They're just because this is how someone like Mother Sachi is thinking, that if my son leaves, and the gopis were thinking the same way, if my son leaves, but of course they were thinking about Krishna, I will not be able to maintain my life, and I will die. And then he's going to feel so bad, it will cause him pain in that way. So therefore, at least the minimum I need to sustain my life is that I at least get news of him, not like what happened with Vishwarupa. And at this point, Sachimata doesn't know that Vishwarupa has left the world, or maybe that is soon to leave the world. So that thread of news about her son would sustain her life, so, and therefore wouldn't cause Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, her Nimai, any pain. So at the root of a pure person's heart is pure unselfishness, it's pure love. And to meet such a person, to even hear about such a person is great fortune. So Satyamata continues, and this is her conclusion, and this is her way out of the puzzle. She says, this consideration is good. In my opinion, if Nimai remains at Jagannath Puri, he may not leave any one of us, and at the same time can remain aloof as a sannyasi. Thus, both purposes are fulfilled. So this is, in one sense, the art of life and the art of managing one's life. Because there's always two sides of everything. Life is like walking down a road, and there's always a bend in the road, or a fork in the road. And if you decide to go left, you don't get the benefits of going right. And if you decide to go right, you don't get the benefits of going left. So sometimes we have to make a choice like that, but very often we can moderate or compromise the different sides so that they're not completely polarized. Because psychologically what happens if we go right, when we don't really only have to choose to go right. If we choose to go right, then a voice inside of us will continuously harass us and say, why didn't you go left? Why didn't you go left? Why didn't you go left? You should have gone left. You should have gone left. And if you go left, the right-hand voice will harass. And what will the right-hand voice say?
You should have gone right.
You should have gone right. You're so foolish. In New York, we would call someone a jerk, but of course we don't speak like that here. But you've done this, and look how much trouble you're causing yourself, and what's going to happen there. So sometimes what we have to do is mediate between the two parts, the two sides, and work out a compromise so that we can go smoothly forward in our life and not turn our life upside down. You're smiling. How come you're smiling? Has that happened to you?
No, just the New York words. That's it.
The what?
The New York words.
You like that? You got stuck on the word jerk, huh? You're like, no, you shouldn't use it. It's not good it's not healthy. You couldn't say it naturally. So fortunate. Satyamata continued, since Jagannath Puri and Navadvip are intimately related, as if they were two rooms in the same house, people from Navadvip generally go to Jagannath Puri, and those in Jagannath Puri go to Navadvip. This going and coming will help carry news of Lord Chaitanya. In this way, I will be able to get news of him. And all of you devotees will be able to come and go. So she's speaking about the devotees going to Jagannath Puri and coming back and seeing him. And indeed, this is what happened. Year after year after year, the devotees would spend 4 months in Jagannath Puri with Caitanya Mahaprabhu. They'd go and see Rath Yatra, and then they'd stay sometimes to Janmashtami, and then they would stay, and then, as will be described in the 15th chapter of Bhadya Lila, and then the time would come after they had been with Mahaprabhu for 4 months, then it would be the time for them to leave. And the leaving scenes were very, very touching all the time. And it's very important also the arrivals, when you meet someone, and when it's time to go. Those two things are very important. So when someone comes to your house or something, how they're greeted is very, very, very important. And then when it's time to go, that's also very important. Not just drifting in and drifting out like that, because then, it doesn't. So when you do it that way, when the greeting and the departure are done very, very, very carefully, then it's like a box that encloses the sweet experience inside, and it keeps it very, very fresh. And all you devotees will be able to come and go. And you know what Mahaprabhu did when it was time for the devotees to go to Bengal, back to Bengal from Jagannath Puri? Each and every person he would exchange glances and words with, and give them some instructions or say something nice about them. Sometimes he would say, You all have taken so much trouble to come here, and I don't exert myself at all. I just stay here all the time, and you're the ones who undergo all the trouble. And then, of course, their hearts would melt and say, No, this is not our trouble at all. It's our greatest happiness to come and see you. So in this way, there'll be so much rasa and sweetness generated. And that's what is relishable in all relationships, whether in the spiritual world or in the material world. It's the sweetness generated from the loving exchanges. So, Satyamata continues, you will all come and go and see him, and then sometimes I will also be able to see him. How? I can't go to Jagannath Puri, but he may also come to take bath in the Ganga. He may also come to Navadvip and bathe in the Ganga, and then I too shall be able to see him. And indeed, this happened one time. When Mahaprabhu was going to Vrindavan, he decided to go to Vrindavan by the way of Navadvip area. And then he bathed in the Ganga. And he said, I will go and bathe in the Ganga and see Mother Sachi, and then I will go to Vrindavan. But he ended up going to Ramakeli and then returning back to Jagannath Puri. But that one time he actually did go, and Mother Sachi saw him again. And then she said, and please listen to this, and this really denotes what love is. I do not care for my personal happiness or unhappiness, but only for his happiness. Indeed, I accept his happiness as my happiness. So this kind of relationship is very rare. Very rare. And then you see some really interesting examples of something that doesn't seem like love in that sense, when you're only concerned with the other person's happiness. When Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu decides to go to Vrindavan, and Maharaj Prataparudra tells Ramananda Roy and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, we can't let him leave. So he wanted to go at one time, and they said, well, just wait till, it's very cold in Vrindavan right now, why don't you just wait till after the holy festival, Dolayatra at Gopurnima, what we would say. And then after that, now it's too hot in Vrindavan, why don't you wait till after Jagannath Rath Yatra? And after, why don't you just wait till soon it's going to be a little more cool in Vrindavan, soon this, and for 2 years they kept on doing this, and Mahaprabhu just simply, okay. He agreed with them, and at some point he said, enough. He said, enough. But in a very, very sweet way, because it was done. Why? Even though it seemed to contradict what love was, because they were concerned, they didn't want him to leave, and he wanted to leave and go to Vrindavan. And they didn't want him to leave because they would be bereft of his association. So on one hand, it doesn't seem like love because their happiness didn't seem to be his happiness. Their happiness seemed to be their own happiness. But actually, it was just completely spontaneous love. They couldn't tolerate him leaving. They just simply couldn't tolerate him leaving, and they just made up one excuse after another, and then finally when Mahaprabhu said, enough, they said, you are the supreme independent personality of Godhead, no one can control you, make you and do anything you want, whatever you want will happen, and like that. And then the Gadadhar Pandit said, but why don't you just spend another couple of months? He said, okay. And then it's so interesting the way you really see this in Caitanya Caritamrta, how the rasa, the sweetness of the exchanges between the devotees is so captivating, how they're controlled by Mahaprabhu and Mahaprabhu is controlled by them, even though he's the independent Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's completely swatantra, completely, what does swatantra mean?
Not sure.
Oh, that's right. You brought up here. Freedom, independent. Like that. So he's, what does swatantra mean?
Freedom.
Or?
Independent.
Swatantra means?
Freedom for independence.
No. That sounds like the Gandhi's movement or something. No. Freedom or independence. Freedom means independence, yes, same. And then finally when Mahaprabhu went to Vrindavan, he didn't tell anyone. He just left. Otherwise it would be too... And he told Swarup Damodar, said, don't tell them not to look for me. I've gone to Vrindavan. So after hearing Sachimata, all the devotees offered her prayers and assured her that her order, like a Vedic injunction, could not be violated. From such a different era, yes. And Prabhupada, he used to talk about that sometimes when you're speaking to someone and you make an assertive statement, it's like this, and then Prabhupada would say, and they might answer, is that a Vedic injunction? But that's really from a different era, isn't it? You know, when Prabhupada was growing up or something like that, or the culture was so... Now people would say, is that in Wikipedia or something, that it's completely true? And then all the devotees informed Lord Chaitanya of Sachimata's decision, and hearing it, the Lord became very pleased. Shunya Prabodha Mane Ananda Hoila. He became filled with Ananda. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu offered respects to all the devotees present from Navadvip and the other towns, and he spoke to them as follows. He said, "My dear friends, you are my intimate friends. So close. Now I'm begging a favor from you. Please give it to me." Now, what would be the reaction? You are my intimate friends, but you're not only my friends, but my intimate friends. Paramabandha. We are so close. Close means close in love, affection. I'd do anything for you. I'm going to follow your order that you've just given me. And you'd do anything for me. And now I'm going to ask you something. And I'm asking you to please give it to me. Now, which way do you think the devotees will be leaning? Do you think they'll be thinking, Braj Mohan, you have to listen to this question very carefully. Do you think they'd be thinking, uh-oh, I've gotten myself in a situation where I probably am not going to be able to say no. What happens if he asks for all my library cards or something like that? Then I'll be, what am I going to do? Or what happens if he asks me for something I don't want to give him? Would you think they'd be thinking like that? What would that mean? If someone was thinking like that, what would that mean?
means they wouldn't be that intimate.
What would be lacking?
There wouldn't be so much love, like, to do anything for it.
And also there wouldn't be what else? Who else? Who can say? What I'm thinking. Who's a good mind reader?
Unconditional selflessness.
Yeah, that's more or less what Braj Mohan said. But what is born out of that, too? I was thinking of... Huh? Yeah, I was thinking of trust. I don't quite trust that the person is going to ask me something that's also good for me. Maybe the person's just going to take everything from me and leave me with nothing. So a lack of trust. And I think, but this is at the heart of the fear of surrendering to Krishna. If I give everything to Krishna and do whatever he wants, who's going to take care of me? That's at the heart of the fear. But this is what Mahaprabhu said. And what's the answer to that question? Who's going to take care of you if you take care of Krishna? Yeah. So our life and our acceptance of that is tested. Sometimes. Will Krishna really take care of me? And how free from anxiety we would be if we actually completely trust that. And at the time, when it's time to leave this body, when it's time to leave this body, it's really good to have full trust in Krishna, because it's such a difficult time. So life, in one sense, is meant for building up that trust in Krishna, so that when one is leaving this world, we can just say Hare Krishna, because at that time we have no ability. We lose control. We will lose control of any ability to protect. It's out of control. We can't protect ourselves. So if we can hold on to Krishna's lotus feet with full faith, then it'll be a much easier journey across that threshold. So this is what Mahaprabhu is going to ask. First part is very difficult. Gare Hana Kora. Please, now it's time for you to return to your home. But there, what should I do? Sada Krishna Sankirtana. He asks them to always chant Krishna Sankirtan, Krishna's holy names. Krishna Nam, Krishna Kata, Krishna Aradhana. Chant Krishna's names, speak Krishna Kata, and Krishna Aradhana means to worship Krishna. This is what you should do when you return home. And Prabhupada's purport here, which we'll read next time, Krishna willing, will be in a different mood, completely different mood from the mood that he was expressing when the family members, the mothers, should let their sons just leave home and search for Krishna. This mood will be stay home and fill your life with Krishna Nam, Krishna Kata, and Krishna Aradhana, and worship of Krishna, Krishna's name, and Krishna. Fill your home with this. Fill your home with this. So we will read Prabhupada's purport, and it's very important instructions in Prabhupada's purport for the entire Krishna consciousness movement, as he says. And you keep in mind that at this time, there was no one, when Prabhupada wrote this and dictated this purport, there was no one living, practically speaking, living in their homes, living outside the temples. All the devotees, his disciples, his followers, the ISKCON devotees were living, more or less all of them were living inside temples, and Prabhupada's going to stay. It's okay to stay at home, but fill your home with Krishna Nam, Krishna Kata, and Krishna Aradhana, Krishna's worship. Okay, we'll end here. And Krishna willing, we shall read this very important purport next time. Thank you very much. Any questions or comments? Yes.
I had a comment.
Yes.
You mentioned about the scientist that said about
Pascal's wager?
yes.
Yes. Mathematician.
Yeah, I think I heard something similar. It might be from the same scientist. It goes like this, something like this. If you believe in God and there is such thing as God, there is nothing to lose, everything to gain. If you believe in God and there's no such thing as God, then there's nothing to gain, nothing to lose. And if you don't believe in God, but there is such thing as God, then there's nothing to gain, everything to lose.
Yes, they get that from Pascal.
Oh, okay.
Whoever that scientist was, because it's a clever point. It's not filled with the deepest experience of faith based on experience, but it's
An intelligent calculation.
It's from a mathematician, basically, a professional gambler. It's a better bet.
Yeah.
Yes, any other comments or questions? Kishore, you have any comments or questions? Okay, just checking. Jivi, you must have some questions, and they're probably extremely deep.
Question,
Yeah.
Well,
just said when you were talking about when when Caritamrta wanted Caitanya Caritamrta to stay with her.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was just wondering if it was mentioned that anyway he would always be with her because Krishna's always with his devotee.
Yeah, no, that wasn't mentioned, but that does come up later because Mahaprabhu 3 times in Caitanya Caritamrta tells devotees to remind Sachimata that in fact he goes and eats her food every day, her cooking every day. He tells 3 devotees at 3 different times, Srivas Thakur, Jagannatha Pandit and Damodar Pandit, if I'm not mistaken. He tells them to tell Sachimata that she's not imagining it, that he's actually coming. He doesn't neglect her in any way, but he doesn't mention it here. But when a devotee, and this is in the 82nd chapter of the 10th canto, and in the 47th chapter of the 10th canto, it is also mentioned in the gopis' separation from Krishna that to know that Krishna comes in an avirbhava manifestation isn't sufficient for them. They want him personally to come, even though he does personally come in that form, but they want him so that they can see him and touch him and like that. And that wanting him causes separation from him, and the separation from him based on their love is what pulls him to come to them.
Well, I had another question.
But did you understand my answer to that one? That one was a bit tricky, my answer.
And it was like, but if it's mentioned later, then it's not that. It kind of spoils it. But like my second question, I wanted to say it's a bit like a comment, but it's a question.
It's very deep. It's coming. We're all sitting on the edges of our chairs, if we're sitting in chairs, to find out what it's going to be.
Well, so I was just thinking that Krishna's always with his devotees, so people that are materialistic, they don't know that, but everyone has Krishna there, so
in their hearts.
It's important to let everyone know that he's there, even if you don't think so, he's still there.
Yeah.
Like, because yesterday, me and my brother were playing a game, and it was like a lot of things, and it was really funny, because...
Do you remember, do you understand what's going to happen now? Well, now even you are wondering what Jeevi's going to say.
Yeah.
You know, this one, you can tell me after, okay? And just to make sure, see if any of the other devotees have any questions or comments.
There is a question online.
Yes.
They are asking them, as a parent, how should we bring up our kids? Should we encourage them to take sannyas?
How old are your children? Well, there's no question of encouraging them to take sannyas. That's not what's being said. What's being said is that if they have a burning desire to find Krishna, we should not stand in their way. That is the point. And Mahaprabhu, being one person, and Prabhupada speaking about his own experience, he saw that parents sometimes would rather their children stay at home, even though they, in their search for the absolute truth, would rather leave and take up that search as a sannyasi, for example. But it's not saying that. I mean, that's probably a good way to discourage your children from taking sannyas if the parent, why don't you take sannyas? But Mom, I'm only 6 years old. Shankaracharya was only... Go. Even the kookaburras will think that's a funny one. Navkishore, are you ready to take sannyas yet? Okay, don't discourage her now. Any other questions? But nice that on the online devotees are asking questions. Okay. If there are no questions, yes.
Is Nimai Lord Chaitanya's childhood name or intimate name or?
Both, he had two childhood names, Nimai and Vishwambar. Vishwambar was given by Nilambara Chakravarti Thakur, Sachimata's
Father.
Sachimata's father or grandfather?
I think it was father.
What's it?
I think father, I'm not sure. I think it's Nimai's
Yeah,
grandfather.
oh, yeah. And the other one was given by the ladies because he was born under a neem tree. And neem was very protective. The tree is very protective. So wanting him to always be protected, they called him Nimai. And later he became known as Nimai Pandit because he was so learned.
So like,
You have to raise your hand. Yes.
so like Pandit is the name for a Maharaj.
For a learned person, it's called a Pandit.
But sometimes like a Maharaj is called like a king, one of those, or
Sometimes, yeah, because king means Maharaj. But actually, Raja means effulgent also. So very effulgent it means also. Okay. Thank you very much. Sri Caitanya Caritamrta ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Sachimata ki jai. Srila Prabhupada Bhaktivinoda ki jai.